welcome to Uncanny Comic Book Reviews. This is my longer, more in-depth comic book review video. Each comic will get around about at least 2 to 3 minutes at least of review time. So I'll look at the story, I'll look at the art, I'll look at the bits I like, the bits I didn't like, and and give you a bit of an in-depth review. If you like shorter, more quick-paced reviews, I do another video called Super Fast Comic Book Reviews, where I don't always achieve it, but I try to stick to 30 seconds to a minute for each review. So they're a lot more quick-paced. If you prefer the shorter videos, you can feel free to check that out. But if you do like the longer videos, this is where they're going to be. I did try last week as an experiment doing them separately, because I was going to do my super fast comic book reviews would be just the one, would all be the short reviews, and then the more in-depth reviews I'd do them each separate. And I was prepared for the fact that some would be more popular than others. And my whole aim of doing this isn't to be popular, it's because I love talking about comics. That's why I do these videos, and it's because I enjoy them, and I've always said that that's the primary reason. But I didn't realise how demoralising it would be to have comics that had 0 views. And doing the review separate for the first time, I've got a couple of videos that have got 0 views, and that felt pretty crap. So going in, I knew, like I say, I knew that some would be more popular than others. I was prepared for that, but I wasn't prepared. Even 1 view is like, at least somebody's took the time to watch your video, and that's fine. That feels great then, even just 1 person. But 0, it felt really rubbish. So I won't be doing them individual ones again. Well, I say again, if I buy extra comics, I might review them separately like I've been doing in the past, as Uncanny Comic Book Reviews Extra. I might still do that when I get an extra book here or there, but I won't be doing it as a weekly thing. The plan at the moment is I'm going to do these 2 videos, the Super Fast and the Uncanny Comic Book Reviews. I'll be doing those 2 videos for the next couple of months. I'm going to just see how the format goes, let people get used to it, and if both are like equally popular, I will keep doing both. If after, say, probably we get to the end of April, and I find one is vastly more popular than the other, then I will just stick with the popular one. But if they're quite close in views, then I will keep doing both. So time will tell what the future is for me with these reviews and which format I use. But for now, I'm just going to sit and I'm just going to keep doing them like I'm doing them, and just see how it goes. So that's enough of me yakking. Shall we get on with some comic book reviews? Well, here's my review of Fantastic Four issue 4. And for those of you that have not been following this book, the premise is that Reed, they battle in a dinosaur, and Reed's arm gets ripped, and that shouldn't happen. He should be able to just stretch and there's no ripping. So he knows something wrong. He does some tests, finds that the molecules they got from the cosmic rays that give them their powers are degrading, and he theorizes it will kill him within a year, and that it will also have the same effect on the other members of the Fantastic Four, and he's not even sure how it will affect their children. So Reed knows he needs to find a cure, but in all known time and space there is no cure for this. So he realizes he needs to go beyond knowing time and space. So he comes up with this ruse of, hey, Fantastic Four, let's all go, take the kids, and we'll go on this journey for a year to give the kids education, to show them what's out there in the universe, to explore, and then we'll come back in a year's time, and hoping that he's going to find a cure. So they go along with this, and off they go. This issue they meet this new race, this new planet. They've been communicating with them for like 19 days, I think Reed says, and exchanging information on each other. And they get there and they're going to meet this race. Ben isn't very happy. He feels like he shouldn't have come on this journey. He's feeling a bit cooped up in the spaceship, and he's not really happy. Franklin is still having nightmares. They're kind of like premonitions of what's going to come in the future, and he's very upset with his dad because he feels it's his dad's fault. They go down to this planet to meet these aliens who are a lot different, They're kind of like these snake-like creatures, and they have this cave where their ancient races, members of their race, used to live. And on this cave there's this big mural on the wall, this big picture of the Fantastic Four, and it's really puzzling. How has this got there? And you know, they want to know, because and they feel are the Fantastic Four like gods and stuff, and they start to worship them a bit, which gets a bit dodgy. There's then a little scene between Sue and between Reed, where Sue's like, I know you're hiding something, and you know, I know everything's not right. And then throughout the issue we get these flashbacks from Reed, thinking back to the first time he met Sue, the first time their hands touched, the first date, their first kiss, and just remembering how much he loves Sue, how much she is his everything, his world, and that everything he does wouldn't be worth it without Sue there. And you know, he then sort of time travels to paint the picture that we saw, so the mystery is solved straight away, that it was Reed who done it, and then he has to make a decision what to do. Should he tell Sue the truth, or should he go on lying? And his decision at the end, it will have ramifications. When you see his decision at the end of this issue, it's going to have ramifications into the next issue, which I'm looking forward to reading. Let's get the negativity out of the way. The whole time travel bit made no sense to me. I didn't get why he did that, why he needed to do that. I didn't get that. And the whole thing with Sue having doubts that Reed's hiding something, while I think yes, she would be the first one to notice because she knows him best out of everyone in the book. So yes, she would be the one that noticed. That makes sense. But it does seem to have come out the blue. I want to go back and read the first 3 issues, because it may have been subtle, and maybe rereading them I'll see, oh yeah, Sue's got her doubts. But so I'll cut Matt Fraction a bit of slack there, but this issue did kind of feel it came out of the blue. However, what was good about this book, the art, I always think to draw Fantastic Four, you've got to get the thing right. That's the thing with this book. And the whole thing with the thing is he's got the monobrow, the rock monobrow, and you've got to get that right. And if you get that right, then you got the book right. And you know, you've got the thing there, and you can see he gets the monobrow spot on. So yeah, I'm really enjoying Bagley's art in this book, and it is definitely one of the high spots for me. And though, like, you know, they are looking for this cure, well, they don't know they are, but they are. What I like about the book is there's still that sense of fun and adventure that the Fantastic Four should be all about, and that is something that I really enjoyed in this book. Even though there is a sense of danger going on throughout the book, it's still a fun book, and I feel that, you know, Fraction really gets the characters and gets what the book should be about. You know, throughout the book Reed's writing this like love letter, more for himself, to remind himself how much he loves Sue, and that sort of uses a lot in the dialogue boxes to sort of, you know, flesh out the story. The other things I liked about it, there was a great scene between Ben and Johnny, where Johnny plays a prank on Ben and they're going to come to blows, and you've got this very antagonistic relationship between the two. I liked that. It felt very much, I've been reading Essential Fantastic Four at the moment, which like is the reprints of the original issues from the 60s, and that scene, it felt very authentic, old school Fantastic Four, which I really like, and it shows that Matt Fraction has an appreciation for the history of the Fantastic Four, which I think is a great thing. I felt it was a lovely issue to release around Valentine's Day, because, you know, there is a nice love story running through this, you know, Reed's love for Sue, which really runs all through this book. I also really like the aliens, and I like the device of making their language slightly different, that though it's translated, their words and their structural words are different. And I liked that made them, just a simple device like that made them feel very alien, and I like that a lot. I thought that was a good device. But yeah, all in all, though there were some negative bits, I thought it was mainly positive, and I'm still enjoying this book, and I give Fantastic Four issue 4 4 stars. Now, next up is my review of Wolverine issue 25, well, Wolverine and the X-Men, sorry, issue 25. And this book doesn't seem to be getting much love this week. I don't know why. I've got every issue. I've read it at 19 onwards. I've read issue 1, but I've got to read all the other back issues yet. Maybe when I've read them all, I will feel the same. I will feel it's not as good as it was. But I'm still really enjoying this book. I do think, you know, there is a problem at Marvel of the fact that, like, this book is double shipping. So every month you get 2 issues. So when you do that, you're going to go run through stories quicker, and good ideas are going to run out, you know, quicker. You know, everybody only has so many stories they can tell with each character, and until you need to move on to a new book. You know, you look at the stuff Jason Aaron is doing on 4 at the moment, it is awesome. And maybe he's just running out of ideas for this book, or maybe this is just a brief respite. But saying that, I'm still really enjoying this book. This issue, we kick it off with Dog, who is Wolverine's brother. Now, I remember when I read Wolverine Origin, which is like the book that shows your Wolverine's childhood, and his mom had an affair with the gameskeeper. Is it gameskeeper they call him? You know, the guy who looks after the property. She had an affair with him. He was a particular vile man called Logan. He might have just been gardener even, but that was kind of his job. And he had an affair, and he was particularly a violent, vile man. And he had a son called Dog. And I remember at the end of the book, somebody paying Dog to sort of hunt down Wolverine. And you know, I don't know if this is the same character, but I think his name was Dog. So this, but I'm not sure if that's the same character, or if I'm off on a complete tangent with somebody totally different whose name I've forgotten. I don't know, but I think that's the Dog character, who this character is. But anyway, the future version of him visits the current day version of him to tell him it's time for him to go and kill Wolverine, his brother. We then have Wolverine. He's got these bunch of students that are failing, you know, survival training. So what he's going to do is he's going to take a whole team of them to the Savage Land, stick them in the wilderness to get chased by dinosaurs, and find their way back to the ship. And if they all make it back in one piece, they pass. And if they fail, they're going to keep doing it until they pass. So Wolverine leaves the kids. There's some nice moments. You know, Quentin Quire tries to take charge. They ignore him. The kids end up all going off separate ways, and then Wolverine is like having doubts, like, have I done the right thing? This could go horribly wrong, when Wolverine himself finds himself in trouble as we end the issue. I enjoyed this one. Yeah, I would have liked a bit more explanation into who Dog was, but maybe we're going to get that in a future issue. So I cut Jason Aaron a bit of slack there. But certainly this issue, I would have liked a bit more information on him. The Savage Land made no sense to me. Why the Savage Land? Surely there were plenty of other places Wolverine could send our students to that would be dangerous without this, you know. We're already using the Savage Land for Savage Wolverine, so why, you know, use it for this as well? And we saw it pop up in Avengers, I think, a few weeks ago. So why have it pop up again? I felt, you know, it would have been nice if they'd had a different setting, you know. So it's still dangerous, but not, you know, quite as the Savage Land. There were good things though. I liked a lot of the character moments between the characters when they all sort of split off. I liked the whole thing with Quentin Quire trying to take charge and they just basically ignored him. I also, you know, really liked some of the scenes with Eye-Boy and Glob. They were really funny, and that's what this book was. It was just action-packed, stuffed with action, and, you know, really funny. And that's what this book brings to you. It brings the funny. The art as well. There's this one panel I particularly want to show you because I just really like it. This is done in the Savage Land, and Quentin Quire is giving Wolverine some sass about what do you know about teamwork, and you can see on the side of Wolverine's cowl there, you know, he having this flashback to when he was brought up by wolves, and that's how he learned to operate as part of a team, to be part of a pack. The art I felt was mostly okay. I felt some of the faces were a bit inconsistent, and characters would look different from one page to the next. But mainly I felt the art was okay. You know, I didn't think the art was a massive problem in this issue. But yeah, like I say, this book just brings the fun, and I'm still really enjoying this book, and I give it 4 stars. Now, next up, issue 9 of the Manhattan Projects. This story is called Brave New World, but they could have just as easily called it the Manhattan Projects Strike Back, because you knew after last issue, after what happened to them, they weren't going to take that line down. Not our group of mad scientists. They were going to strike back. We get the beginning of the issue. It's a nice introduction to the characters that they fought last issue, and we get to know who each one is and what each one does. Then the scientists, they all split up to take on different members of this group, which is really nice, seeing each of them deal with each thing in their own inimitable way. The story moves along nicely, that President Truman has to like face up to what he's done, and it calls out through that we need a new president. So we have a familiar face come in as president, and he's pretty much no more on the side of the Manhattan Projects. And the end of the book I really liked. I thought was really fun, and it was just another really great book. The art, as always, I feel like this totally unique kind of style. It's all the way through. It's just really wacky fun. Very stylized, as you expect Hickman books to be. Though Image in general, you know, seem to do that. And each character has his own kind of like person to take on. The book is really well coloured as well, and just has a totally unique look and a unique feel. And I just really enjoyed the heck out of this book. Fantastic ending. I won't spoil the ending, but that's really good, and looks like the book is going to go some really exciting and interesting places in future issues, and I'm just still loving the heck out of this book. It's a great one. They should be bringing out the second trade soon, so you should be able to get the first 2 books in trade. It's definitely worth trying out if you like your history and your science fiction. This kind of combines the two in a mad kind of way, and it's a lot of fun, and I give this issue 9, I give it 5 stars. Well, here is my review of Batman issue 17. First things first, I will try and keep this as spoiler free as I can. I will not go as in depth into what happens in the story out of trying to keep it spoiler free, though some of my points may be slightly spoilery, but like I say, I will try and keep it as spoiler free as I can. This book, like I said in my super fast comic book reviews, it was my most anticipated book of the week, and when I put it down, I couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. I don't know if that's because my expectations were so high nothing could match it, or if because I just didn't grasp it or understand it. But I did feel a bit hollow coming away from it. It didn't have the kick that I was looking forward to, and the kick that all the previous chapters had had. Of course, the story, as most of you probably know, Joker's declared war on the Bat family. He feels that they make Batman weak, and he's going to eliminate them, and so Batman can once again be the Batman he remembers. And he's gone after them all one by one, saying he knows all their identities and their families. Batman says no, he's bluffing, don't worry, I know he's bluffing, I will deal with this. While Batman's dealing with it and finds out that Joker has been running Arkham Asylum, that he's been making the guards go home, just like, you know, that he threatened that they'd do something to their families if they didn't, so the guards have to just go home every day and act like the Arkham Asylum is still fine and everything's alright. Meanwhile, Joker has targeted each of the Bat family and he's took them and captured them. Last issue he captured Batman, and this is where this issue kicks off. Batman waking up to this reenactment of the Bat coming through the window kind of things when he becomes the Batman, and then Joker turns on the lights and there's all the Bat family tied to these chairs all around the table. They've all got bandages over their heads. Batman has got this stuff at the bottom of his chair that if he moves it'll light a fire, and everybody's been soaked in this flammable substance so that they will all go up in flames. So Batman has to sit in place and can't try and fight back because he'd kill everyone. They've each got in front of them these platters and they don't know what's under the lid, so you've got that surprise, and there's some really like banter backwards and forth as Joker is just really stirring everything up, saying how Batman loves him more than he loves the family, that he's never killed him, that because he loves him, and that he left their identities there for him to find, because really Batman feels the same way, that Batman feels the family make him weak and he wants Joker to kill them. And like that's probably as far as I can go with the story, but from there the story takes some twists and turns. We get to see my geek out moment of the week was the whole what's under the platter. That was just an amazing moment that lived up to it, but even within that then there's another twist, and there's just loads of twists. And then at the end we get like Bruce and Alfred, and Bruce is kind of like it's a kind of like a recap moment for him to really tell his side of the tale of why he felt so strongly. And like throughout the story it's kind of felt like Bruce has been either too arrogant or in denial that Joker knows their identities. And at the end of this conversation with Alfred he reveals why, and you finally understand and you see that Bruce wasn't being arrogant, he wasn't in denial. You can see that like there was evidence there that Joker, you know, didn't know their identities, didn't care about their identities. So that was a nice little bit at the end. And then we've sort of got like the death of the family at the end of the book as well, which I liked because that was a different way they did that. And then at the end the Joker gets the last laugh. So yeah, all in all, so the story was good. I felt things that hurt it. I felt the crossovers to this story hurt it. I felt wearing books like Red Hood and the Outlaws, it was pretty explicit, the stuff that Joker was doing, and so I felt that hurt this story. The fact that the crossovers, you know, where some like this one and Batgirl left it ambiguous, does Joker know? Others were a bit more explicit that Joker could only be doing this if he knew, and I felt because they weren't consistent it hurt this story, if that makes any sense. I felt the whole thing with the explanation with why he shaved the face off, that didn't make any sense to me, and I didn't quite follow that. And maybe that's a point, maybe it is the point that he's the Joker and he's insane and it doesn't make sense to somebody who's sane, but I didn't think that was explained well enough. I thought there were some great twists throughout this issue. There were some really good twists and turns and some fantastic dialogue backwards and forth, and I really do love how Scott Snyder writes the Joker. He writes him better than I've ever read anybody else write the Joker. He's so creepy and so scary, but at the same time there's this frailty to him as well. You know, like at the end when he's battling Batman and Batman finds his weakness, that it really, you get to see that there's also a frailty about him as well as a twisted, sick and creepiness. And like I say, I love that scene at the end with Bruce and Alfred, and sort of explaining Bruce's side. I liked that scene, and the whole thing at the end with the chemical allowing Joker to get the last laugh. I really liked that as well. I thought that was a clever way, and the way that the art is done, so that you're looking at the art, and it's very much It's like that scene at the end of horror movies where you think they've killed the big bad, but then the big bad's still alive, and you get that last scene of the big bad still being there. It's kind of like that, the way they do it with the fly and the screen. I really liked that. It made it a really chilling ending, and I liked that a lot. We want to know, obviously the whole thing is why the family have broke up, what has caused it, which we don't get all the answers to in this issue, but I'm hoping that we're going to get a bit more answers to it in future issues, not just of Batman, but also future issues of all the characters' books. For me, the highlight of this book is most definitely the art. Greg Capullo is... every issue has been great, but this issue even more. And I think another thing that I really loved about this issue, before I talk about the art, is I love the fact that the whole book worked out with the death of the family. They didn't have no backup story. I liked that. That they used all the pages to finish the story off. I thought was a really great way to use the book. But the art by Capullo is just, you know, all the way through the book, he sets the tone. The creepy way he draws the Joker is just fantastic, and I'm really gonna miss seeing him draw the Joker. You know, as we move on to future villains, because he just does such a great job. Here you have what's become of Alfred, and it's just all the way through. It's really creepy, and I can't really show you too much of the art because I don't want to spoil like the issue and sort of what's revealed later on. But trust me, all the art all the way through by Capullo is fantastic. But like I say, I did feel a bit let down, and I've got to go and read this book, reread it. I've got to read it with the other issues, and maybe then it'll fit in better. But I did feel when I put this down a bit disappointed, so I give Batman issue 17 4 stars. Next up, we have Bedlam issue 4. For those of you that have not been reading the book, the basic premise of this book, we have this character called Fillmore Press. And he was this serial killer called Madder Red. That was his name. He was kind of like a costumed villain, and he terrorized this town called Bedlam. Killed many people, women, children, men. It didn't matter. He was just a killing machine, and he had a gang. And he got captured and by this superhero called the First. But then he blew up the police station, or so it seemed. And they thought that he had died in that explosion, but he didn't. His body was swapped, and he was actually rescued by this hospital, this strange hospital that cut pieces of his brain out, and basically these bits they cut out were all the bad bits. So now he's basically, you know, he wants to do good. It's 5 years later. I think it was 5 years. It's 5 years later, and he basically is returned to Bedlam to do good now. He wants to do good. He wants to help the society. Problem is, only thing he knows how to do is be a serial killer. So what do you do if that's your only skill but you want to help people? How about working for the police and helping them catch serial killers? The problem is, Fillmore Press, he isn't the most sane dude. Yeah, he now wants to do good, but he's still a little bit insane in the brain. So his whole way of doing this is to confess to doing a crime so the police would take him in so he can help them. So he's trying to help them and tell them, you know, give them like who is doing this, like what kind of person, the motivations and everything behind it. But the police think he's giving a confession. So they think they've caught their serial killer, but it isn't Fillmore, it's somebody else. So the last issue ended where they took him to the roof, where they're going to hand him over to this superhero called the First to sort of beat him up and beat a confession out of him. So this issue, the detective who's with him, she leaves while the First is beating Fillmore up. So we don't see Fillmore, the main character, for much of the issue. Meanwhile, there's been another murder, and like they're now finding that all the people are murdered are kind of all around the same age. And then they figure out that they're all related to this church where they reported somebody for being a sex offender. and all these people were sexually abused, and they find that all these people are from that list, so it's one of the abused. So then, like, she rushes up to the roof to stop the first beating up Fillmore, and she says he's like, so then Fillmore and the first both want answers, and Fillmore says, well, he knew that it was something to do with the church, because all the deaths were what you would do to martyrs back in the day, you know, dragging and you know, the way that they've been killed are in that same way. So she said, well, why didn't you tell me this soon? He said, well, if I'd have started talking about religion, you'd have thought I was nuts. So anyway, so it looks now like he's going to work a bit more with the police, like he's starting to help them a bit. And then the serial killer is going now on a bigger killing spree. It's sort of escalating what he's doing, and that sort of brings the issue to a close. Can Fillmore help the police catch this guy? Will the first be able to get there in time to save people being killed? We'll have to find out next issue. But I'm really loving this book. You know, all good writers, the more answers they give you, the more questions that makes. And that Nick Spencer does that in this issue. You know, just when you think, yeah, we got all the answers, we're getting who the serial killer is, you're left with more questions. The other thing that's really good is you can see the status quo starting to be formed. This whole, like, Fillmore working for the police, it looks like it's going to be a really interesting book and a really crazy ride, because you gotta think at some point we're going to find more about this hospital, and we're going to find, surely it's got to come out that Fillmore was mad or red, and that's just going to change everything again. But I'm really loving the book. I love the art as well. I'm really getting used to the art now, by Riley Rossimo. You know, I like the colouring as well. I think it's very atmospheric, the colouring, if I could say that word. But I also really like when you see Fillmore, if you look at him, how he's quite, his eyes are quite manic. I really like how they draw Fillmore. He just like, the way he behaves and looks is quite manic, and I really like the book and how atmospheric it feels. It's a really good book. I'm just really enjoying the heck out of this one. I wasn't too, you know, each issue has been like different. Issue 1, the character seemed interesting, but I didn't really care about the character. Issue 2 totally went in a different direction than I was expecting. Issue 3, I found myself now caring about Fillmore Press, and issue 4, we start getting answers. It's just been a fantastic journey so far, and I'm just really enjoying the hell out of this book. Really recommend checking it out, and I give Bedlam 5 stars. So this week next up is my review of Clone number 4, and this is one of my favourite new series. I love how Image do these books that are a bit different. You know, books like this, books like Bedlam and Saga and Walking Dead. They do such a great variety of books, and this is another great addition to the Image line of books. It's Clone number 4. If you've been following this book, if you haven't been following this book rather, it's about this guy called Dr. Luke Taylor. He's got a wife, she's pregnant, and he leads a pretty, what you would call, ordinary life. And then one day he opens the door, and there's this guy who looks exactly like him, who's been shot in the stomach. He then finds out that they're clones, and that there's this other clone called Patrick who is trying to kill them all. So this clone that's been shot, who's called Foster, you know, warns him that they will be after his wife. So Luke rushes off to try and save his wife. Unfortunately, Patrick's already got there and has abducted his wife, who is pregnant. Luke then goes with Foster and this group that Foster is with, that is trying to track down all the clones to try and save them, because Patrick's gone around killing them all. He's handed over the wife to this organisation who are going to experiment on her. They're going to induce labour. They don't care if the baby lives or dies. They just want to experiment on the baby, because clones shouldn't be able to make babies. So something's very wrong here. So, you know, last issue ended with Luke infiltrating the base of the bad guys by pretending to go along with them, and he manages to get another clone to help him, and his daughter, I think it was his daughter, his baby was born at the end of the issue, and now he wants to get to save his child. So the story continues, and like, there is so much that happens in this book. I may miss something out, and if I do, I apologize, but it's such a jam-packed book. So Luke is trying to get to his wife and his child, because they're going to take his child away to experiment on her. I keep saying I got this feeling it's a girl, but I don't know why. It's just this thing in my head keeps saying he's having a girl. Anyway, meanwhile, Foster and the gang decide to go in because they know he's in trouble. Patrick has raised the alarm because Luke has escaped. So Luke manages to get to the rooftop to try and get his baby back. But then Foster and Patrick are fighting. Meanwhile, the vice president has been to shut down them killing these clones, because he made a promise to the guy that made the clones that he would do this if the guy could save his daughter's life, who's got Parkinson's. So he's going to shut down the clones. So we meet this new character who's in charge of killing the clones, and he doesn't take it too well to shut it down. And there's some great twists and turns, there's some great consequences as the story goes on. I'm just loving the hell out of this book. So much happens. That is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that happens than I can tell you, because I don't want to spoil it. It's a great issue. The story's moving along really well, and there's a couple of deaths in here, and there were characters that look like they were going to be long-term characters, and then they're killed off. And I think this is something where the creator-owned books have the advantage. If you pick up a Batman book, you know Batman isn't going to die. Yeah, he might get in a really bad situation, but he's not going to die. Because if he was going to die, it would be everywhere Batman's going to die, right? So they wouldn't just do it suddenly like that. So you know, the most it's going to be is how Batman's going to get out of this problem. With these creator-owned titles like Clone, he can kill anybody in this. It doesn't matter. You know, it's his title. He can do what he wants with it. So that is a strength in that you feel everybody is in peril, nobody is safe, and that this issue really cements that deal. Also, what it does is very much like Bedlam. Is like what I said. Is like all the good writers. The more you learn, the more questions you have, and that's the same thing with this one. The art, once again, I really liked. There is like a bit of shading around the faces that I would nitpick with, but by and large I think I really liked the art. But yeah, you got some great but it's a great book, well worth checking it out. It's well worth checking it out. It's just a great book. Action packed, not one wasted panel. It's just action all the way. Yeah, I don't want to spoil anymore, but yeah, it's just a really great book, really worth checking out, and I give Clone issue 4 5 stars. Well, here we go. My final review this week is issue 17 of Batman and Robin, and I had a pretty good feeling that this week a Batman book would probably be my pick of the week. I had a good feeling that a Batman book this week would probably get 5 stars. I didn't expect it to be this Batman book though. So yeah, this is my pick of the week. It's a really great kind of one-shot sort of story, so you don't have to have been reading this book to pick this up. It's just like a one-shot story. As long as you know who Batman is, as long as you know who Robin is, you will enjoy this story. And it is a really great story. Basically, it's the end of the night. They've been on duty. Alfred is like, you know, feeding them. They're getting changed, and they all go their separate ways to bed. and then the rest of the story follows each of their dreams. So we start off with Damien, and we have his dream, and which you know, kind of, if each dream kind of tells you a little bit about each character, and so in that way it's a great character piece. We have this great scene with Damien, then we have the dream sequence with Alfred, then we go back to Bruce and he has a dream, and then that sort of propels him to go, and there's this lovely moment at the end between Bruce and Damien having another dream, which I really liked. I defy you not to have your heart melt at the end of this book. It's so, like, yeah, it's just a simple premise, but such an effective way they done it, and it's such a great story. Like I say, it's a great character piece. Peter Tomasi deserves so much credit, because he's taken Damien from a totally, that first issue of Batman and Robin, I hated Damien. You know, if there would have been a phone vote to kill Robin, I would have found it, you know, because he was not a likable character at all. But over the issues of that first story arc, that Born to Kill story arc, it showed you more to Damien than just being this arrogant little kid that deserved a kick up the bum. It showed you there was more depth to him than just that, and that in many ways was kind of like a coping mechanism that he put on that act, because he was scared of sort of showing too much emotion. So yeah, but Tomasi's done a great job in developing that whole, you know, emotion in Damien, and I liked it. I like it a lot. And Damien's now one of my favourite Batman characters, and I really like this current version of Damien, this current version of Robin, I mean. There's lovely moments at the end of this book, like I say, it would melt anybody's art, and it was great how they used each dream to sort of tell you a little bit about each character. The art by Pat Gleason, once again, it's really good art. Initially when you go into the dream, I was initially kind of wondering, well, what's going on here, but then you kind of get to like, oh yeah, they're dreaming and their dreams, and I like how he's really taken to Titus now. I remember when Bruce first gave him that dog, he didn't really want it, but yeah, the art throughout this book is really great, and there's some fantastic moments, and because they're in their dreams, they can basically do anything, and it's just a really great book, and I really recommend it. If you're a Batman fan, I really recommend picking this book up. My pick of the week. You don't have to be reading it. It's a kind of one-shot story, so you don't have to have been reading this book, but it's just a really great read. I've not done it justice in my review, but it is a book well worth checking out, and I give Batman and Robin 5 stars, and it is my pick of the week.